All right, how you feeling? Ready to roll? Yeah. Late ill kid at one young soul holding it down. Bringing the street geek and nerd soul. What is up, my people? Today all year, coming with another wonderful episode of You Best Believe It. Black together. I ain't by myself. Nah. Lady Lisa, say hey.
Hey, y'all.
It's great to see y'all beautiful sunshiny faces. We got an extremely late night live tonight for you guys, but big shout out to anyone who comes through here late in the evening. Most likely, hopefully, we'll see such luminaries as Jenna James, such luminaries as Eon 001 across the pond, such luminaries as Sandra Thomas. You know what I'm saying? Maybe even Tyler Bennett. You don't know who's going to roll through. But I do want to give a big shout out to all the Patreon supporters, super chatters, cash appers. Big shout out to anyone who's ever liked or shared or commented. It all helps the algorithm. Thank you so much. But we got a show to get to. You saw a documentary and you showed me the documentary. Mm-hmm. If you could inform them what you showed me.
There was a documentary that I found on Amazon, because Amazon actually has a great rollout of for Black History Month, Black films, Black documentaries, Black music, etc. So I found this documentary I thought was interesting called Black, White, and Us that is about transracial adoption. And it is based in Utah, of all places.
Yes, it is.
And follows, I believe, about 4 families. Mostly focuses on one particular family, but does follow 4 different families and, speaks to their experiences as parents, being white parents with Black adopted children in Utah.
And we heard about Utah, last week before last? So we know how they get. We know about Utah from many athletes that say hey, when we play there, it's tense. Or we hate playing there because, it's racial. So, Utah got their own thing. But this transracial, basically, you one race and you adopt another race. Mm-hmm. So in this case, it's white people adopting Black kids. And it's interesting how they walk through, their feelings, their biases, especially now that they have someone that they have to care for and protect. And there's some parents that is like, oh, okay, cool, at least you're trying. And I guess the documentarian is talking about how these people are kind of struggling with what they've been told or taught their whole lives or shown their whole lives. And now it's getting hit with a ton of bricks oh my God, they're treating my kid like this.
Yeah.
And it's you treated kids like that. Just because now your eyes have been opened. And but it is interesting, the stories they tell.
Yeah.
And some of the questions that they answer. And I thought it'd be cool to get into this, a good time to talk about, adoption in general. Mm-hmm. Definitely this documentary, because there's some people I want to get into. Mm-hmm. And I think were you able to get the names of the people?
No. The only information that I got was it was made by Loki Mulholland, and it primarily follows Curtis Linton, who is a Mormon man, and so that comes into play too. Yeah. About how it's very important for Mormons to have children, and so those that cannot, they adopt, because I guess it's a status thing, or what have you in the Mormon culture. That you must be a parent.
Yeah, and there's a young lady who runs the adoption agency.
She's not a young lady.
I'm trying to be.
She's an elder.
an elderly woman that runs the adoption agency. The one thing that stood out to me is they asked her a question of, they're talking about, their kids and what they go through at school and maybe what they go through, when they're out and about. And I believe the question was, is race a big deal?
No,
was that the question?
Is race, I forgot how it was worded. I don't think it was a big deal. I think it was, do you care about race?
Well, no, she said, I don't care, but they said something about race and big deal.
I think she said, does race matter?
Well, nah, because I remember the word big deal. I definitely remember that. Like, he said that something in there was big deal about race. But basically, is racism
not
important?
Racism.
Or, sorry, is race a big deal? Sorry. Because we had that back and forth, too. Sorry. Is race a big deal? And she said, I don't care about race.
Yeah.
Oh, lady.
Because she totally missed it. And like I was saying, with her saying that, I think she thought it was a badge of honor to say, I don't care about race. It's in the same bucket when people say, I don't see color. And they think that they're saying something profound. And,
you think it makes you seem special, but nah, it doesn't. No. It doesn't. It actually hurts your position because people are like, so like, are you blind or, and then for you to say that you don't care is very interesting, especially outlining the people that you are in charge of and knowing the things that they go, or at least hearing of the things. And to add,
this lady isn't just the head of the adoption agency. She is an adoptive parent. So she adopted a black child herself.
What an open mind, like I should be. Open mind sensei. Look, I'm waiting for that controller. Once that controller drop, I'm back in the gym. But she also is an adoptive parent. So she definitely exhibits this idea that I've adopted these kids, but I'm not going to do any extra work to try to like figure out where they're coming from, see their position, learn, help them embrace what surrounds their life, to maybe have empathy.
To help them embrace their culture, learn about their culture, be involved.
Yeah, because they asked them about like the cultural thing too. She's like, I don't celebrate any black holidays, or I don't celebrate Black History Month or nothing. She was like,
I don't know what to do. So you do nothing?
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean you don't know what to do?
The answer is to do nothing.
Look, grown people do what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like grown people do what they want to do. If she didn't know something, you learn. You got the internet. The internet can be used for more than Facebook and porn. All right, you have something on there called Google. Shoot, Ask Jeeves probably still exists. All right,
my God.
Just go on there, type into Google, I don't know, Black Life in America or something. I'm sure you'll get enough articles to pop up. Some documentaries, maybe personal essays from people. I'm sure you will learn things. And then go to your child. Maybe read these things with them. They can exchange stories of how they feel. You're not even trying.
She doesn't want
You didn't even Google. That's like base level trying.
She doesn't want to.
Yeah. Did you even try watching like a black sitcom? Like you did not. So you can see like we already have a parent in there.
She strikes me as someone who watched Amos and Andy.
Oh yeah, that's not a good look. Open mind. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I know there's that update coming, so we gonna see what's up on that new update. But I heard about that V shift.
But like I said, with this was an issue of the heart. It's not an issue of you don't know what to do. It's an issue of where your heart is. Because as they showed these different families and they spoke, the man who was the primary subject, you could tell that this was his life. He made it his life's mission to make sure that he was raising his black children to the best of his ability, meaning understanding what they're going through, understanding what is up against them, understanding the fact that he has to raise them very differently than he would any white child.
Him and his wife, actually.
Him and his wife.
Yeah.
I mean, I really gave it to him. He dove all the way in. And because, like I said, the difference is your heart. You know, because regardless of not knowing where to start, you don't just throw up your hands. If your heart is there, you figure it out. You ask questions. You find resources. You do whatever it is that you need to do to make this happen if you genuinely love this child. And loving this child means being interested in and caring about their race, their culture, their background. You can't just be like, I don't care. No. No, this is a part of them, and you're raising these black children in white Utah.
In whitey McWhite,
like
Utah. Shouts to Tyler Bennett. He's also the parent that said when the kid that they adopted is black and Filipino, right?
No, that's not the primary subject. No, that's another couple.
All right, cool. Well, I want to talk about that real quick.
Okay.
Then. There's another couple that adopted a kid that's black and Filipino, and the story he tells is when he gets to the court, the guy kind of pulls him to the side. He's like, "Hey, yo, I just saved you $5,000." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" You know, and they're like, "I don't get it. What do you mean saving $5,000?" And he was like, "Well, instead of saying that this kid was just a quarter black or a quarter Filipino or something like, I just wrote down that he was all black, which made him cheaper." And that's a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
That's a whole, because that takes you back to like those NFL like training week things where it's like, feels like slave blocks. Like it was like you're like, hold up. So we marked down that the child was black, so saved you a little money. Like, and dude was like happy to tell him that information.
Right, and he was like, I wasn't coming here looking for a discount.
Yeah, I'm not buying a pair of shoes.
Like I was coming here to be a father, become a father. Like, but there are fees that are attached to adopting a child, and unfortunately, instead of it just being flat fees, the fees apply. I don't know the official rundown of how they officially on paper, apply these fees, but I'll just say black children have the lowest fees.
Yeah, meaning, the black children have the lowest value in this system. So if you're trying to get children or whatever, it's cheap. It really comes off, at least the way he described it, comes off very reminiscent of a time that we do not want to return to. And very human trafficking as well. Like, extremely human trafficking. Yeah. And I was like, what? So that's something else that the system itself, like say if you're someone who comes into it, say if you're a white person, and this is, because you know how I jump on white people, but there's some white people in this movie, even though it does have kind of like a white savory kind of vibe every now and then, but at the same time, it might not be on purpose. It's just that this is about white people that adopt black kids. So, and then also they do show white people that adopt black kids that's whack. So it's not like they all great. But because that lady with the lady that runs the adoption agency, I'm like, she has no business with a black child. She has no clue.
She has no business with a black child.
She has no business with a black child. But that guy at least exhibited, like he was trying, like I think him and his wife had been trying to get a kid or have a kid or whatever.
Yeah, they just couldn't have children.
So they wanted to adopt because they honestly wanted a child. Like, it wasn't some kind of weird stuff like Rachel Dolezal's parents and stuff. It wasn't a weird stuff like that. It was just like, yo, look, like, we want a child, and we met this child and we like this child kind of thing. And then there was
and they actually adopted two children.
They did adopt two children, a boy and a girl. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then there's a there was another family that I thought was interesting because they had adopted, was it a little girl? I think they had 2 daughters biologically and 1 black daughter that they adopted.
Yes.
And it seemed like they were like just getting it. Like,
yeah,
they treat our daughter like this.
Yeah,
Did you know that schools treat our daughter like this?
All of them seemed to be shocked.
Yeah, they were all shocked. All of them shocked.
Primary subject. All of them just seem to be shocked and appalled. And it's like, it's funny because you're not going to tell me that before you adopted this child, you had never heard of these things happening. But it didn't matter to you.
It didn't matter because you were white.
Because it didn't affect you. But now it only affects you now because you have adopted a black child.
Yeah. And the family, which I considered the focus family or the focus couple, which was the white couple that runs the like summer camp.
Yes.
I thought they were the focus family. Are they not? Or?
They are.
Oh, okay, cool.
They are.
All right. So the husband of the focus family makes mention of a woman that, another well-meaning white. They have an event where they, of course, since they're in Utah, they're like, hey, in summer, let's do a summer camp where we can bring all of the children of color together, and mostly black. When they say of color, they're all black. Like, I know they're trying to be nice and stuff, and they all black. So anyway, bring all the black kids together, and they can at least be together without having to feel like, I always have to share my space where I'm like the one black kid in the whole class of white folks or whatever, right? So he says that, all the kids are chilling, hanging, jumping in the pool, playing around. And he says one woman says, oh my God, I can't find my child. Meaning like looking into the pool or whatever. And he broke down, which I was like, look at you, Mr. White Man. And his wife even doubled down on it.
Yeah.
He was like, I understand where she's trying to come from. He was like, but she's still, we have to get her there. He was like, because that statement alone means that she's only had to ever identify her child by the color of his skin. Because of course, when you're in Utah, let me just look around for the black kid. Oh, that's mine. You've never had to focus on the finer details of this kid's eyes, their face, their head, their ears, their height, the way they walk, the sound of their voice, really.
Yeah.
You haven't really...
It's not even that you had to. She never wanted to.
Never wanted to.
That's your child. This is your child. You've never looked into their face and studied their face and or any of those things to actually know them. Because that's what parents do. I look into that baby's face all the time.
That NERDSoul light, I be seeing that baby head.
All the time. Like, you just look at them and you adore them and you get to know their actions and,
And this documentary definitely shows the parents who got a child because they just wanted a child. And people that got a child but then realized the child that I have isn't just a everyday child. This child is treated a very specific way in the society that we're in. And it's Tay 1990 broke down, said, white people's religion is white supremacy masked as Mormon religion. Now, that's a whole nother documentary discussion and show that I'm not, I ain't the one to do it. Now, I will say, Mormon religion has some very white supremacistic things in it. But, I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to let somebody much better handle that argument. But it is interesting that Utah is highly Mormon, and that Utah is also the place where Rachel Dollaz talked about her parents adopting like 3 or 4 kids, and they were like beating them and stuff and mistreating them. So much so that Rachel had to adopt her brother from her parents to get... of course, now she was crazy herself. But still, like, just the weirdness of, like, you have that where they're, like, beating the kids and mistreating them. And then you have a system or people inside of the system of adoption saying, like, hey, I could get you a deal if you want some darkies. So it's like... it's like this weird system inside of a system that we don't really get to talk about or speak about a lot, and ends up being even weirder than you thought. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were like, hey, white people, adopting black kids, it's kind of weird, right? And it's like, no, it gets weirder. Outside of maybe like the 3 families we saw. There's a main family and then 2 other families. The family that's kind of getting it, like, oh, my daughter, they're treating her weird at school. And then the white lady that said they kept sending letters home about her son. And she was like, what is going on? Right. So she said she goes to the school and observes kids. And she's like, yeah, white kids are doing the same thing he's doing.
Yeah, but he was labeled.
Why is he getting disciplined? Why is he getting detention? It's like, well, ma'am, guess what? Welcome. Yeah. And you're not even black.
He was playing while black. So
welcome. See, all the kids that you thought were bad while you were going to school, same thing was happening to them. But you didn't care then because you didn't care to know that person at all. You were completely comfortable in your whiteness as you operated through your life. Now you're in charge of someone who's black, so you start to care because, unfortunately, for white supremacy, it has to be in your friggin' backyard for it to matter.
Right.
So now that someone's in your house that represents this type of person, now you're like, hey, let me go to school and look, I need to do some investigations. Be great if you could have did that before.
Right.
But fine, whatever. She did the investigation, and now she's on some revelation that we was like, nah, we told you that. Yeah. She's like, he's getting detention more, and they're writing letters, and I think that, wasn't she like, this is ridiculous?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it is. Racism is ridiculous.
Like the lady who runs the
adoption. I need to make a shirt. Racism is ridiculous.
Like the lady who runs the adoption agency who has a black son, and she was talking about he was in 4th grade, and when she got up to, they called her, and when she got up to the school and asked where he was, they had him in the back of a cop car handcuffed.
Thank you.
Because they said, he was out of control. So.
Out of control. What happened is, I believe they said they brought an officer in and the kid got scared. And he ran or something. Mm-hmm. And then when he ran around the back of the school or something and went to his classroom. Yeah, and probably because the classroom is where he felt safe. And then they went and, I guess, semi-arrested him.
Yeah. I don't remember what the original issue was. He was having a bad day, and he kind of got upset, and he may have yelled or, kids do.
He's in 4th grade. Yeah. Kids get weird and emotional. Also, he's a black child in Utah. He's probably going insane.
He's probably being picked on and
He's probably being picked on, just like, thank you. I'm glad he's probably being picked on. It's probably extremely racial and extremely hurtful. And when he gets home to your white self, you're wearing the face of the people that are tormenting him at school. So it's hard for him to open up, which is a whole nother issue we'll talk about later with adoption. But speaking of torment, there was a dude that recounted an issue in high school. Mm-hmm. The one where he played for the football team. And the people brought...
And he didn't, I don't know if you caught it, but he was raised by white parents.
Oh, he was, yeah. Because the reason they had him is because he was also, raised by white parents. But he played for the football team. He's in high school, kicking it, minding his business, right? People come up in KKK robes.
Yeah.
Students. In school.
Students
in school. And they're walking up towards him. So he says, he looks around and he's like, he balls up his fist like, I guess I'm going to have to throw down. Ain't nobody here to help me, right? He says his coach runs out, grabs him and says something like, no, not this one, and takes him into the other room.
No, I remember that. I know he said he grabbed him and got him out of the way.
I thought he said, no, not that, but I could be wrong. But coach grabs him, takes him in the room to keep him safe. He said... The kids that did that, and they had been drawing him in a noose in all of his textbooks. Those kids got half a day suspension. half a day.
Half a day.
Ain't nothing wrong with having a half a day off. I love half a day.
And the counselor told him it was no big deal.
Oh yeah, the school counselor told him it's no big deal. Imagine, all right.
And on top of that, they followed him the rest of the day to make sure he didn't go after them.
The irony. They had an officer, like the school officer, follow him for the rest of the day to make sure he didn't do anything wrong. Man, being black is awesome, ain't it? Like I was like, yo, I ain't going front. On the flip, being white must be like awesome. Not only can you terrorize this kid, I don't even know, where did you keep the robes at? Like, did you bring the robes in your book bag and like hang, like, there's all kinds of dumb questions that could be asked, but you did all this. And they followed they followed the victim around to make sure he didn't do anything. Yo, black people in Utah got to be going crazy. Like, it's already bad to be black in America, but like Utah is like on some other stuff. Like, homie, how, look, if we never hear any story about the coach, like the coach went and like gave them a stern talking to. No, the coach was just like, get out of here. Let me save you from this. And but I'm like, no, but you saw these kids, right? Why didn't did you write them up? Did they get an office referral? Did they anything?
Not even a whole day suspension.
A half day.
Too much.
Man, so anyway, Tay1990 says, I think this movie showed that white people will care addressing the racial issues until it really affects them, and money is money. I
guess he's trying to say they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care about addressing it.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting seeing this because honestly, out of all of these families, you get these varying levels of care about blackness and just black culture in general and protecting their black children. Mm-hmm. And I will say the Focus family is probably, I don't know, the most involved in their children's lives as far as trying to make them feel
they're
safe.
They're the most knowledgeable and involved in the making the most effort.
Yeah, like trying to learn what it's like to raise a black boy. Like even the lady, she said, when the Trayvon Martin thing happened, they had to sit down and be like, I shouldn't have to do this, but like we don't, we want you to, like walk right this way and don't walk that way, and don't wear a hoodie, and even when he has to start driving, and she talked about that their son can't play with, and it made it clear to him, you can't play with, a toy gun or a bow and arrow outside of our home. You can do it here, but you cannot do that outside of this house. So they really took the time to understand. Yeah, and even had the wherewithal to notice and say like, hey, our kid. No, or was this the other family? What was the family? I think it might have been this one. But said like, look, when you're with us, by proxy, you get white privilege.
Yeah, that was the family that had the black and Filipino boy.
Okay, cool. They were like, with us, you have, white privilege when you're with us because we're there to speak up for you and protect you. But talking about how it scared them because they know, there's going to be times when he's not with them. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, that was interesting to see them, because it's almost like they're realizing it as they're saying it. And it's like, wow. It is interesting seeing you guys. And some of them did cop to the fact, the family with the two biological daughters, it looked like they copped to the fact like, hey, look, we didn't know nothing. Like, we ain't know nothing. We was white, chilling, kicking it. We ain't no jack. Yeah. So, but they are trying to learn. They got a ways to go, but they trying to learn. So, look, I'm gonna let them slide. But that one lady that's like, I don't care about race. I don't need to teach them about. I'm like, you don't need to have them kids.
No.
Like, there's there's her who just doesn't care at all. She just got black kids. She probably beating them at home or something, probably doing something wrong. And then you got like two families that are like, they kind of know and they're kind of trying. And then I think there's two families that kind of like, all right, we're working hard to try to make this as close to a black experience as possible while living in Utah.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Because they also live in Utah, which is another issue. It's like, you're living in Utah. And not to say that there's something wrong with the actual geography of Utah. The issue is the community of Utah. Yeah, the community of Utah. So it's an interesting look at family and life, specifically in Utah, and just the stories that they tell and the lives that they're living and how they're treating their kids, how they are being kind of awakened to something that I'm sure black people have told them numerous times, or they've seen on TV and were like, I don't know if it's that bad.
Right.
And even the main family said we have to be sure that we're not, and he didn't use the term gaslighting, but basically we have to make sure that we're not gaslighting our son. Like if our son says, hey, these kids did this and it was racist, we don't first be like, well, you're being a little sensitive there. It's like, no, right. Dad, I know. I know they were being racist because you could feel it. Right. You can feel it. Nothing can save you. You know what I'm saying? But with that, I did want to pivot to something that you wanted to talk about as far in the black community at large, which is adoption of our children, because there's so many in the system.
Yeah, and that's something that you and I, of course, have talked about, offline. But we've talked about that several times. I think we even talked about that before we got married. That we both, kind of wanted to adopt, and it is important because, especially after seeing this documentary, it's like we as black people need to really start making efforts to be educated about the adoption process, how adoption works, what's happening with kids when they're in the foster system, when they're in, in homes and those kind of things, and really make a concerted effort to adopt our children, because we have all of these instances of, white people, white families, white celebrities, adopting our children. And we've seen some of the foolishness that goes on with celebrities when they adopt our children. And true. Of course, we know some of us as black folks, we're struggling just to make it with the kids we got. But there are, plenty of black families who are financially, able to adopt. And we just, I think that's a conversation we need to have in our community, and it's something we definitely need to do. I think we probably have a culture, well, it's changed because it used to be, as black folks, we just took care of each other. If it just so happened there was a child in the community, in the immediate family or extended family in the community who needed someone to take care of them, we didn't go through the adoption process.
You just kind of like
just took them in and raised them.
Just took them in, and that's how it was.
But now I think we've gotten to the point where it's like, ain't my kid, it ain't my kid, and we have to get back around to the village mentality, because these kids need us. And it's especially black boys. Black boys, once they get to be, I would say around 10, 11, they're kind of left in the system, and a lot of times they're kind of written off, or that's just where they're going to be, because no one wants to adopt a quote black man, because that's what
that's how the system is framing them.
And so I just think it's important to do, and even if you're able to adopt a child that's like 13, at least they'll have from 13 on, the experience of being part of a family, in a family that looks like them, that, can relate to them.
That doesn't have to learn empathy for their position.
Right.
Because
right.
the best case scenario is probably the main family in the show.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I'd argue that at times it's probably still hard for that child to look at them, especially when situations like George Floyd happen,
right.
when situations at schools happen, when they draw on you with a noose in your own textbook, like stuff like that. Sometimes it's probably not easy. And then also similar to the relationship issue that we talk about, like black men needing black women and black women needing black women, black women needing black men, is like this situation where, I can't explain to, or I don't have to try to explain to a black woman what I'm going through. She knows. Right. You know what I'm saying? She knows how to, empathize with what I'm going through, because she believes that I'm going through what I'm going through. Because that guy did say that he had a friend of his that said, if you want to help, you got to start in believing me. So first, my wife believes me and what I'm going through. And she knows the type of comfort that I need, because she knows the type of comfort that she needs. You know what I'm saying? In dealing with the day-to-day stresses that white supremacy puts you through, whether it's police, finance, education, corporate, whatever it is varying degrees and varying levels that you have to go out in the world and fight. And when you come home, you shouldn't have to fight in your home about your story of what's really going on with you. You shouldn't have to be gaslit when you come in your own house saying like, yo, my boss or my coworker did this, or my classmate did this, or whatever, and you have to either be gaslit for it or say it to someone who has to kind of figure out how to empathize with it, but doesn't really understand it at all. And not saying that it can't be done, but just saying the ability to do it is greatly diminished.
Yeah.
I know Tay 1990 put something down, but you took it back. But go on, drop the comment, let us know.
But I was going to say, and the other part of it is, it's just important for these kids to be able to see someone on a regular basis that looks like them, because they have to be able to build their confidence and not just always feel like, they're an outsider, or that they look so different from everyone else. They need some sort of confirmation of their beauty. I think because another thing I noticed too, all these kids' heads, Jesus, Father God.
Oh yeah,
all these children,
white people really ain't up on hairstyles like that, and they probably taking them to the white barber shop. Oh man, that's a whole nother thing. But there probably ain't a whole bunch. They ain't got True Dreams in Utah.
I don't know where they're taking them, and God bless them, but all of their heads was like.
None of them.
Have you ever?
None of them had a cut that was on point.
Have you ever put moisture in this girl's hair? Ever? Any type of moisture?
And then that's another thing, talking about that beauty aspect. So for the instance, especially with the black girl with the two white sisters, are they raising her in a European standard of beauty inside that home? Or are they also celebrating other standards of beauty that are not only European or European based? Because that's another thing. Like, meaning that is she being able to watch movies with black leads or mostly black cast that show her and show beautiful women that look like her all over it? Or are we watching Friends over again? Right. And so now she's been adopted, yay, but now I'm stuck in a house where it's all white all the time, and nobody's like, we go to white movies, we watch white TV shows, we talk about white issues, and we never really talk about the beauty of the Black experience or Black excellence or any of that, because we don't know about that either. Right. And I mean, because unless you're trying, and hopefully it's not the situation where it's like, hey, do you want to watch Black Panther again? It's like, well, I mean, yeah, but at the same time, we should shake it up.
There are thousands of other movies. Or
they come to it like, Tyler Perry's got a new movie out. It's like, thank you for trying.
Yeah. So
I've got higher tastes. Oh man, but yeah, I'm definitely someone who, like, I don't know the answer for, the issue with our children in the system and how to kind of, let's all adopt. I don't know, but I know kind of taking steps towards it is the only way we're going to find the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say those who are able to should. Those who are able to should. Those that, that are in a financial position, because I know that's a large part of it. Those that are in a financial position to do so should do so immediately. You can't wait until X, Y, and Z, except for finances, I would say. Honestly, that's the only thing that should be hindering you. I mean, no one's going to be sure that it's going to work or it's going to be the right kid, or you don't know. You have no idea.
Same way you don't know when you give birth. You ain't got no idea. This kid can be crazy or can be cool.
I think it's important, for us to do whatever we can as Black folks to embrace these children.
Yeah.
And give them a home and give them love and, because we can't, this is the thing, we can't continue to complain about white folks adopting them if we ain't adopting them.
Yeah.
That's the truth, because you could very well have a white person turn around and say, well, how many Black kids have you adopted?
Yeah.
And
but you could also return and say, but I'm mistreating zero. So because there are some
issue.
There are some, like, I mean, I would argue that at least the lady in the red jacket, at least her, the one that runs the adoption agency, she's mistreating them by disregarding their race in general.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But yes, I agree that if you have the ability, stakes is too high right now, and not not saying that this is going to solve every other problem in the world, but if you can, you know what I'm saying, the Spider-Man line, the deal, or I'll give it to you from Spider-Verse, you know what I'm saying, with great ability comes great accountability. So he was like, I don't think that's how I said that. But there's, stakes is high, especially for those children that are in like group homes and stuff like that. And being labeled the way they are already labeled as like problem children mostly of the time, there's no one that can love them sort of like you can. You know what I'm saying? So, and I've thought about that. I've thought about that a lot. Like, like when would we, how would we, stuff like that. So it's like,
I know there's one particular major goal.
Yeah.
That we want
to. Yeah, we gotta accomplish that major goal.
We have to accomplish that major goal first, and I say once we do that and get settled.
Word up. That's what I'm talking about. Once we conquer that major goal.
Yeah.
Then we could be like, yo.
That should be the next major goal.
Word up. That's what I'm talking. See, guys, look, we can't tell you all our goals right now. We gotta keep it on the low. But shouts to Tay1990 says, I think that Black people need to get back to being a community. And I also think, there should be a council of Black social workers that vet parents who want to adopt Black children. That could be interesting. Like some social workers that kind of get together that kind of like try to, I guess like energize and kind of like come on, like get them in the system to kind of start looking for children to adopt. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we organize for other things. You know what I'm saying? Organize to get out the vote. You know.
But that's not going to fly over, especially when we're talking about adoption via the state. They're never going to go for something. And then other agencies that don't have to follow necessarily the laws of the state, they're not going to go for that either. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, because they're going to be like, well, I mean, I guess you can't really stop. Like, say if a group of social workers or even ex-social workers wanted to say, like, hey, we want to create like a organization that kind of like encourages or seeks out or looks to kind of like get people involved in adoption, that's something different than vetting people. Oh well, vetting is a little I guess. All right.
I mean, I know they have guidelines in place in terms of vetting them if they're a fit parent. I know what you're saying, Tay 1990, like not just a fit parent, but a parent fit to adopt a black child. But I don't see that happening. And we definitely do need to get back to being a community. But I think this is a case where we have to do two things at once. We have a long way to go in terms of, getting black community and black family to a place where it should be. But I don't think we can afford to wait until that happens, whenever that might happen, and then say, okay, we got it together. All right, let's go see about them kids now. Like, we're going to have to walk and chew gum on this one.
So, I dig you. I feel you on that one. So, with that said, guys, we have exorcised the demons because somebody
decided, hey, it's time for me to get up in the middle of the night.
Because you're supposed to be in the bed.
And you going back to bed.
So, shouts to Tay 1990. Shouts to Open Mind. Shouts to Tyler Bennett. Thomas D? No, Thomas D wasn't in here. Or Token? Nah, Tay. All right, cool. So, thank you guys for rolling through. I know it's a late night stream. Much love to all y'all. Before we get out of here, big shout out from Lady Lisa. Say hey.
Bye, y'all.
Of course, NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all them places. Thank you so much for hanging with us, watching us, listening to us, liking, supporting, whatever. All that stuff, it helps so much. Thank you for your comments, your viewership, whatever. Because you could have been anywhere in the world. Anyway, podcast if you want to listen. Spotify for that music. And speaking of music, we got Arcatron coming. ARCKATRON.com. You know what I'm saying? Shouts to Sleepy Babies of America. And for us, you were just saying, peace. You want to say peace?
No.
Oh, you a trip. You know that?
A sleepy piece.
Oh, I tell you, that baby, little baby boy, we out.